start of the conversation, but like the UF's handling of Jon Jones and the heavyweight title picture, historically, the UFC has had a bad relationship with its heavyweight division in that it's letting the big fights fall through. And it's kind of doing it again of like they're fumbling another major fight at heavyweight, right?
Yeah, they definitely are. This is what the fans want right now. This is like the fight to make. Tom Aspinall is a rising star. I don't want to say he's a huge star right now. UK, he's a huge star, but like if he beats Jon Jones or even just fights Jon Jones, he gets the rub in some kind of way from fighting Jon Jones. That would be phenomenal for the UFC. But they are holding on to the Stipe, and I saw Aspinall said he wanted them to Biden or whatever. Yeah, they they want him to just like phase Stipe out of there and just put Aspinall in there. And I think that's what they should do. Or Stipe should fight someone else. Like he hasn't fought since the Ngannou fight.
Man, yeah, it's just and in a different timeline. With the amount of time that we've been talking about this, going back to before the Gone fight, Jon Jones could have defeated Francis Ngannou, Alex Pereira, Stipe Miocic, Cyril Gane, and Tom Aspinall. Like it's been 4 years. He could have done all of those and still not fought that frequently, right?
Yeah, definitely. I don't know what was the wait for. He sliced through Cyril Gane. I mean, maybe that doesn't happen if he doesn't take all that time to put on the weight. I don't know, but he sliced through him like it was nothing. And I think he would do that to most people in the division. Heavyweight to me is easily the worst division in the UFC.
Yeah,
like,
I know.
Can't stand it. So it's like there's a few that I like, and I like Sergey. I like Cyril, but then but when they fight an actually skilled MMA fighter like Jon Jones, you see the difference. So he could have ran through this whole division a long time ago. Like Derek Lewis, he could have ran through most of this division, dude, a long time ago.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And even if like he does have the skills to beat all these heavyweights, it's just a matter of like his age and moving to heavyweight. I'm still not really sure because Cyril Gane just fell down. Basically, he fell into the takedown. Yeah. I still don't know how he performs at heavyweight, but theoretically, all these fights are pretty winnable for a great like Jon Jones. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think even with the Stipe fight, yeah, I think Stipe is like one of the greatest heavyweights, but like the division is changing. I think the fighters are changing, and you got the Aspinall. Like that's the more archetype you need to see Jon Jones against. You still don't know if he is the best heavyweight. If he goes out and fights a Stipe who hasn't fought in years, you know.
I don't. Yeah, I know. Like making rankings right now, like a more fair number one is Tom Aspinall. He's defended the title. He's beaten more competitive, more important names ultimately at heavyweight. But the thing is that the UFC needs to book that, or else like we're laughing at how many fights they've missed at making at this weight class, right? And like you said, it sucks. The weight class sucks. There's only like 4 guys who are good at any one moment, and you have to have them fight.
Yeah, at some point. At some point.
Yeah, I don't know. In the past, like we've had some really cool flashes in the pan of a great heavyweight division. Like there was a moment where like Fabricio Verdum, Cain Velasquez, Junior Dos Santos, Alistair Overeem were all in the division at the same time. But those are really rare moments. It's mostly looks like right now where there's a couple of guys at the top who are kind of old. But yeah, we'll see what happens at heavyweight. I don't know. Are those fights winnable? What do you think?
I think with Aspinall looking as good as he does, he could definitely inspire a new generation of heavyweight. You know, I think with how quick he moves in there, just he doesn't look like the traditional slugging heavyweight. I think he could inspire that next generation of heavyweight that could make heavyweight great. I think he could.
Man, and this guy's only seen the second round once in his career. He's never seen the judges' scorecards. He's a 260. He's a full-size heavyweight who has to cut to the weight limit and moves like that. Come on. Amazing. Amazing, right?
Huge fan of Tom Aspinall.
But Jon Jones is amazing. Watching his rise, 2011 won the title, defended it against a bunch of former champions like Rashad and Rampage and Lyoto and Shogun. Man, there is nothing better than that era, that rise.
Yeah. And you got to give Aspinall the chance for greatness, to be that one to come here and be the new Jon Jones. But I understand not wanting to take that risk, you know.
But and that's how
you're not undefeated.
No, that's the thing. He is fallible, but this is why we want the fight, and we want a
Of course.
trilogy out of it, maybe. But that's how good of a fight it is that we're here trying to talk about UFC
Yeah, of course.
305.
Of course.
All we can talk about is Jon Jones at heavyweight. So let's jump into UFC 305. It's been a lineage of Israel won the title, lost it to Alex Pereira, took it back from Alex Pereira, lost it to Sean Strickland, oddly enough, and then Sean Strickland loses to Dricus du Plessis, and now Israel Adesanya is back looking to reclaim his title. And it's at a moment in his career in which there's a lot of questions that need to be answered. But Dricus du Plessis is going to be a tough fight for him. What do you see playing out in this matchup at UFC 305?
Dricus could be a tough fight if he can get to the ground. Like I just rewatched Dricus versus Strickland, and Dricus like shoots from so far away. He throws like slow spinning back fist, and like I don't know, everything looks kind of labored to me. But he rushes in, and it's like, dude, this looks like it's gonna be a bad fight for DDP, in my opinion. But I could be wrong. I could be very wrong. We've seen Izzy lately. He's put on a lot of muscle, and he's been training with Craig Jones. He's been working on his grappling. So that could be a factor. If it does go to the ground, DDP was able to take Strickland down about 6 times in their fight, I believe, maybe more. And yeah, so he does have the capabilities to take a big guy like Adesanya down. Will he be able to? I don't know, because Adesanya is pretty slick at getting up against the fence and getting out of those situations. I think he's pretty good at getting back up if he is taken up. So I'm definitely leaning toward Izzy becoming the second three-time UFC champion. Like I'm leaning toward Izzy doing that, but it could it could go to the ground and be a massacre for Izzy.
Man, yeah, and I'm hearing the right things coming out of Israel Adesanya's camp that he's training with. Like you said, Craig Jones is incredible. Damian Maya, MMA legend,
Yeah.
grappling legend, like some incredible names coming out there. The thing is with Dricus du Plessis, and the reason I'm tripping over my own feet here is because I've never actually picked any of his fights correctly. So I'm picking him to lose in this fight, but I picked him to lose in every single fight in the UFC because he doesn't look like he knows what he's doing. Like I think it was Heavy Hands who said like his hips don't communicate with his shoulders, which aren't communicating with the end of his fist. Like there's a kinetic chain of punching that starts with your feet, through the hips, through the shoulders, and then ends at your fist. And if you're teaching a class on it, you would never use Dricus du Plessis because he looks messy, right?
No, he looks terrible, man. Like when I was there when he fought Derek Brunson, and it's like Brunson came on so strong, and then all of a sudden like it's like Brunson just gave out, and all of a sudden Dricus just came on strong, and it was like, yeah, I'm the man. And I'm like, dude, that you look terrible in there. And then he fights like Darren Till, and it's like you looked good at first, then Till was piecing you up in the second round, and then all of a sudden you just somehow came on and got the job done. But like, I don't know, I never go with DDP because he looks so sloppy in there. And even now, I'm like, I watched that fight with Strickland, and I felt like Strickland like let him stay in that fight. Like if Strickland knew how to step on the gas, really, like he let DDP stay in that fight. He was really hurting him with the jab.
Cut the middleweight division. We're talking about Sean Strickland being champ. Like this division sucks so much.
Yes.
But yeah. But that's the thing. So Dricus du Plessis on the other side, though, while he doesn't always look like he's the most athletic, he's clearly dangerous on the ground. He's clearly so good on the ground. But I think he can follow a game plan really well. And that's the kind of area that gives me pause of like, clearly against Robert Whittaker, he was able to handle everything he needed to. Against people like Darren Till, who I picked him to lose to Derek Brunson and Darren Till, but he wins because he can follow a game plan really well. Israel Adesanya, he keeps his hips back. He keeps his legs really far away because he doesn't even defend takedowns because he doesn't need to. He stops the takedowns before they even start most of the time. But I think this might be little bit of a. Are we going to see a boring fight here?
We could. I think honestly, I hope not. But if DDP has it his way, I think it's going to look like what we just saw with Ian Gary and MVP.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying. Like if it's standing up, MVP, is just touching him up. Ian Gary can't touch him. I think that's what's going to look like. DDP can't touch Adesanya. He's going to be rushing and trying to, and he can't. But then he's going to be able to maybe get him down in open space in certain moments. Because Izzy hasn't fought in a year. You know what I'm saying? So there might be a little bit of a rust there. Izzy's usually, 3 times a year?
Yeah.
We got to get an active champion again.
And 3 times a year, but at the end, we were kind of questioning his motivation and his push because he just put himself on pause in some of these fights, and he put himself on pause against Sean Strickland, embarrassingly enough. I
Mhm.
think he really does need to come out with some fire in his hands and some fire in his heart, but do you think it's still there for him?
I hope so. He's saying the
Yeah.
right things. Yeah, as you were saying, like looking at the camp, Damian Maya, I think he's doing the right things training wise
Mhm,
to elevate his game. You know what I'm saying? He's not coming in there just the same Izzy.
mhm,
He's added some elements. So I hope the dog is still in him, as he was saying, and he can show me a new Izzy, or at least the Izzy of old, the Izzy that had the fire, Izzy that was on the rise. Like if he can perform as he did in the first Whitaker fight, and
mhm.
it's like I need to see that hunger. But like, yeah, as he looks pretty lethargic, as of late, I would say.
Oh, I know, and it's a major letdown, and it's just exhausting to talk about this guy who has all of the tools and all of this incredible talent and this amazing background, and he's got a cool story with his family and stuff. But then you watch him fight sometimes, and you're like, yeah, I can see why people were leaving during which fight was it where everyone was, oh, Jared Cannonier, where the fans who
Oh,
paid money
really?
were actually walking out. Like, man, bro, get it together because you're so good. You could knock out any of these guys. It's just a matter of his mentality. Yeah.
Yeah, point fighting. Just don't want to get hurt. And I could see that. I've seen videos of fighters like with Nam Pham, and I'm like, dude, like I understand why Floyd doesn't want to get hit. I understand why all these
Yeah.
people are fighting the way they do, man. It's worth it. It's
Man, thanks for
worth it.
bringing that up. Yeah, reminding everyone that this sport is actually kind of sucks.
Yeah, it kind of sucks. That's why I
Yeah,
have
I know.
so much respect for these guys. You're putting every so much on the line.
No, I've always said, and like at weddings, it's always so funny to talk about when people ask about the sport and like what I do for a living. And they're like, isn't it this? Isn't it that? I'm like, yes, yes, it sucks. No one
Yeah,
should do it. The pay sucks. The brain damage sucks. No one should do this. But if they're going to do it, I'll talk about it.
yeah. And it's like you could really have like a life-changing injury in the gym and never even get close to your dreams. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like it's a crazy sport.
I
You
know,
know?
I know. And the people who rise to the top of this sport are superhuman to be able to do that kind of thing, to
Yeah.
put down that grit, that determination that befits a champion. Those people are superhuman to be able
Yeah.
to do this. And
That's
it's incredible to see. Yeah, go on.
when I see people who they're so good at like striking, so good at grappling, so and it's like, dude, how did you? Because I know how dangerous this is, and you were able to like work it this far and be so good at like every aspect of that. You see so many people in the UFC who aren't good at some of these people I see on like not even on like the UFC level, like people who are able to work that. And it's like it's amazing how you could find the time to like live your life and still be skilled in all these areas. Like it's just a dangerous thing to do and then fight these fights where they're basically making no money. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like everything that goes into to develop that skill level is just so respectable.
Oh, it's an incredible, and this is why we love the sport so much. Those stories
Mhm.
of determination and grit and showing the spirit of an incredible what a human can be kind of thing. But yeah, let's go down the card a little bit because it goes into what we were talking about with Dan Hooker frequently, is that he does have the toughness and grit that befits a champion, but he doesn't have the discipline, and he often just abandons his game plans throughout fight. He has all the athletic skills and the toughness to do
Mhm.
anything in this sport, but he seems to lack a game plan. You know what I mean here? What do you see in this matchup against Mateusz Gamrot?
It's interesting. Hooker's coming in 2-fight win streak here.
Okay, but against who?
Jalen Turner, I felt like that was
That's a good one.
that's a decent win. The the fight before that, what was it?
Claudio Pereles.
Yeah, Claudio. Yeah,
That's a good win too. That's a good
Eh,
win.
I don't
Go on.
know. Yeah, so I would say like this fight. I don't know. I don't think I would lean Hooker
Mhm.
because he does seem to. He has. I think we've seen where his ceiling is. And
Yeah.
I feel like Gamrot is improving. He's training with like Poirier. I think he's moving in the right direction, and he's more of a top tier competitor of the future next couple years here. Well, I think we've seen where Hooker's going to be. So I would lean toward Gamrot in here. I think he's just the better grappler, better striker in this one. I don't know about better striker, but I think he's just going to be tougher in there and grittier. And I mean, Hooker's gritty.
Yeah.
But I'm just gonna lean Gamrot in this one.
Yeah.
All
It's
right.
just, yeah, I know. I agree with you. I think we have seen the top of Dan Hooker's career, which is too bad because he's really entertaining. But yeah, I think Dan Hooker would have done well in like 2003, like that kind of like, that like tough guy, shoot him out era. I don't know. He was built for a different time in MMA, which is not now where people are game planning to a T,
Yeah, his fight with Dustin Poirier is like still one of my favorite fights, like a classic.
Yeah.
I thought he won that fight, man.
I know.
I thought he arguably could have won that, and that would have changed his career. But then he fought Michael Chandler, and it was like, oh, all right, I guess we see where Hooker's at here. It's like he gets to those points. Then what did he fight Barboza? Well, no, yeah, he fought Barboza here in Milwaukee. That was pretty crazy.
He lost his intestines in that fight.
Yeah. Pretty rough fight. Yeah. So every time he gets just a little close, and then it's like, oh, then he fights Arnold Allen, and it's like, oh,
he's back.
Yeah. No. So
it's a discipline. It's the game planning. But let's take a look at a few of these fights, because I think the main card's really exciting. You got Kai Kara-France, Steve Erceg, Tai Tuivasa, and Jairzinho Rozenstruik. Could be really bad. Could be really fun. Li Jingliang and Carlos Prates. Which one of those fights sticks out to you?
So a couple. I like the Li Jingliang versus Carlos Prates fight. I was watching Carlos Prates last fight. When he finished Charles Radke, he started mouthing off to Bilal Muhammad immediately after. And I'm like, that could be pretty interesting for the future there. But this is gonna be a tough test for him. I believe that's an interesting fight. I don't know where Li Jingliang has been. He hasn't fought in 2 years.
The gatekeeper's back.
Yeah. So I think this is gonna be the toughest test for him. He's Prates can finish people, but this is gonna be a really good fight here. I think this could be potentially fight of the night.
Yep.
On this card.
But let's pair off a few of these fights now. So we got Dricus du Plessis and Israel Adesanya, and then you have just a few months after Khamzat Chimaev and Robert Whittaker. But Sean Strickland is also calling for a title shot. What do you do with the future of the middleweight division if you're the UFC matchmaker?
Sean Strickland has to fight someone else. They're not they weren't happy with the Paulo fight. That fight sucked. And he's just somehow like, I'm gonna sit here after a terrible fight or a fight people thought was boring and wait for a title fight while the division moves on around him. Like anybody, Whittaker is the number one contender right now. Okay?
100%.
Like that should be what it is. I don't want to so he should have fought Strickland. He should be fighting Whittaker right now. It shouldn't be Khamzat. He should be scheduled to fight Robert Whittaker, and him sitting there is just a mistake. I don't know who he fights now, but I think he's missing his opportunity. Cannonier's booked. You know what I'm saying? Like, who does Strickland go to now? Like,
I would be okay never watching Sean Strickland fight ever. I just don't care.
I feel the same way. I watched that fight with DDP like last night at work because it was a slow night. It's the first time I watched it because I had decided like that I was never going to talk about that dude before he beat Izzy. I was like, I'm done even covering this guy. He's so gross to me. And then he beat Izzy, and I was like, I have no choice now. But
man, no, yeah, he's I don't. It's one of those things where like on an MMA podcast, I almost like maybe we should shy away from talking politics because there's also like tones of colonialism in this fight, which like those are great discussions to have. It's just in the MMA space where Twitter is like the main communication platform.
It's gross.
It's just like you feel like the odd one out sometimes. But yeah, I don't know. I always hate writing about Sean Strickland because I'm like, this guy's kind of a loser and a dickhead. And
and like if I could just watch him fight and not hear him talk, like I wouldn't mind him as much.
But even then, you're like, his fighting career sucks.
Yeah, nothing too exciting.
But yeah, I know. It's got to be Khamzat or Robert Whittaker next. 100%. Sean Strickland's out here doing nothing.
Khamzat, even with the layoff, and not even really seeming to be able to fight in America. Like, I think that should be a problem, but
yeah, I don't know what's going on with him. Of like, USADA changed the rules where if you get busted for something, you're suspended for a year, but they won't tell the media. But now USADA's not even really around. And so I don't really know. And he just seems to be sick and injured quite a bit of the time, but he doesn't fight in the US. I don't know. He's mainly kind of a welterweight, but now he's fighting at middleweight. I don't know.
I didn't know that they wouldn't report it to the media.
Yeah. So your first offense with USADA they changed it, would not be reported. And I don't know why, but whatever. But now they got rid of USADA overall. I don't know, man.
Connor said he's getting rid of them and they were gone. That's how it works.
but did you see WADA the other day had a scathing report in Reuters talking about like USADA is super corrupt, and they have known, like they have almost like programs of U.S. Olympic athletes who are almost allowed to cheat because they snitched out other people. And WADA is like, you can't do that. If someone's cheating, they're cheating. It doesn't matter if they have cool knowledge about how we're cheating. You know what I mean?
Wow, I didn't know that, dude.
But anyway, let's jump on the Kai Kara France versus Steve Erceg. UFC is going to keep flyweight around, or are they just going to dump it? They seem like 50-50 on it.
I don't think they're going to keep it around, man. You got to bring back Muhammad Mokaev if you're going to keep it around. If you want the best fighters in the world, you got to bring Muhammad Mokaev back. You got to have. I felt like there was no difference in what Mokaev did, and like if I look at Habib going up to Artem Lobov, smacking him in the face, like if I look at Hamzat before the Nate Diaz fight, fighting with everyone backstage, and they had to mix up the card. Like what did Muhammad Mokaev really do? All right, so
I know.
I think if you're gonna keep it around, then you got to bring that guy back. But Erceg here is also he's a great talent right now, champion level talent. So just for Erceg, if Erceg can get back to the belt, I say you can build the division around him because he's pretty exciting of a fighter. Like he's pretty well rounded, I think. But I think you just got to have the right person as the champion. You know what I'm saying? I think that's what it's dependent on.
Yeah, and I don't know if the UFC is super happy with their current champion. I think they saw some signs of what this could be with Brandon Moreno and Deficit Figueiredo, because those are really kind of pulling in numbers or pulling in eyes at least. But yeah, I don't know what their future is. I hope they keep it around because the UFC needs to be more than just a pay-per-view company. It also needs to be a sport at the end of the day. So I hope they keep the division around, but they've been sending mixed signals about it, you know?
No, yeah, they've definitely been sending mixed signals. And you got Davis and Figueiredo fighting like oversized opponents because he sees the writing on the wall. There's no future down there. Outside of him going back and fighting Brandon Moreno for like a fifth time, there's no future out there. So yeah, I think Pantoja I think they wanted him to be more of a vocal champion out there, but he's kind of disappears until fight time. And then even when fight time, I don't think there's too much promotion. Doesn't really talk to like on social media. So like that's a detriment to the whole division. We need a champion that can be out here and talk. I don't know if Erceg is necessarily that guy, but I know he can fight like we need a champion to fight. He can get knockouts. He can get the finishes and bring the excitement to the division, I believe.
I hope so. But let me ask you one last question, and then we'll get out of here. Let's say you get a Pantoja versus Kyoji Horiguchi, champion and rise. Who do you think is better right now?
Pantoja versus I would go Kyoji.
Me too, 100%.
I think Pantoja, he's tough. You know what I'm saying? He's tough over 5 rounds. He's good enough where his toughness will get him by over 5 rounds. But I don't think he's the best at the weight class.
No, I agree with you. I think Kyoji Horiguchi could piece him up. I think that's actually a good fight for Kyoji. You know,
I'd like to see him. I was like Charles Energy Johnson, right?
Oh, he's a friend of everybody. You know,
I'd like to see him 5 rounds Pantoja. You know what I'm saying? Like I would love to see what happens in a fight like that because he comes on strong as the fight goes. Pantoja is just kind of steady, but he kind of like tails off. But he's just tough. But I don't think he can handle Charles Johnson.
Man, that jab after 5 rounds, the steeplechase power. And the crazy thing about Charles Johnson is he would go and defeat Alexander Pantoja and then be a late replacement 3 weeks later for another fight.
Yeah. He's sick, dude. He's already got another fight coming up.
I know, that's the thing. I can't even report fast enough. I'm always getting mixed up of like, man, he's still on the card. He's fighting again. Wasn't he just fighting? Man, Charles Johnson is the man. He's the coolest guy. I think he's got a child. Like he just had a child born like last year, so he's got some new motivation. Man, awesome guy.
Yep, great dude.
Yeah, he's the man indeed. Okay, let's get out of here. Jermaine, last words go to you. Talking to UFC 305 here. Shout out who you need to shout out. What you got going on this week?
Shout out that stuff. Shout out Arabs MMA. Shout out my wife. It's actually our wedding anniversary yesterday. 5
Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. It's her birthday by the time they're fighting next week, actually. So happy birthday to my wife, all that. Follow me at Maine, or you see it here. It's gonna be there.
I'll link it down below.
Yeah, it'll be there. But yeah, that's about it. Go Adesanya. How about that?
100%, man. Appreciate your time. Let's have a good fight night,